Hi, friends. Welcome back to Live, Laugh, Love Life. I hope you're all doing okay. I know September has been an absolutely crazy month, but I hope you're all hanging in there. As far as my life updates, I've got snake earrings on and my pink flamingo socks. So that's got me in a good mood, and I think it's going to be a great day. Recently, my dad and I took a trip to Boulder, Colorado to visit CU Boulder. That is the University of Colorado at Boulder. So I thought with airports and air travel fresh in my mind, this would be a great week to talk about that. And so, if you've never flown on an airplane, you've never been in an airport, this might not be the most relatable episode to you, but if you're curious about what it can sometimes be like, please stick around. And for most of you, you've probably flown at least once, maybe it's your favorite thing in the world. For me, I don't love it that much. I have some stories, some opinions, so let's get into it. Of course, I have my notebook. So to start out, reminded myself of a 23-hour travel day that I had a few years ago. What I mean by that is from the time I woke up at the place I was going from to the time I went to bed at the place I was going to. And I say go to bed because we got there at night. It would normally just be landing or the time we got to our hotel, let's say. Time we got to our hotel at the place we were staying. So this is taking me back to 2023, I think. So like 2 years ago. It's the summer, end of June, early July, so school's just gotten out. My mom and I are flying from Boston to Orlando. If you know anything about geography, you're probably thinking, how on earth did it take 23 hours to get from Boston to Orlando, Florida? Boston, Massachusetts to Orlando, Florida. We're on the East Coast. We're not flying across the country. We're going north to south. If it was a direct flight, I don't know, maybe like 2 hours, 2.5. Like, I don't think it takes that long. And mind you, 3 hours is time I woke up at my house, so not at the airport. But still, you wake up, you get ready to leave, and then you go. It's not like I'm at my house having a normal day, because here's what happened. So, our flight, I'm pretty sure, was at 6 a.m., maybe 6:30. I don't know, some time early in the morning. So my mom and I, we wake up at 3 a.m. in our house here. So we still have to drive to Logan Airport in Boston, which it's like an hour, a little less without traffic. Like, it's not that bad. So we wake up, we get ready, whatever. We drive to the airport, we get there, blah, blah, blah. And our flight is delayed already. So we're sitting there at like 5 a.m., ready to go for our 6 o'clock flight that's now at, I think it was at like 9 or something. And we had a layover in Baltimore. So we're sitting there like exhausted. Barely anything is even open in the airport because it's so early. We're like with our Dunkin' Donuts dozing off at one of the tables, just like, what are we gonna do? Like, we woke up so early for what? Now our flight is delayed 3 hours. What are we supposed to do? So that flight, it was not a direct flight. We were going to Baltimore to then fly from Baltimore to Florida. And we weren't actually going to Orlando. Like, the place we were staying was in Disney Springs, but I don't know what airport we flew into in Florida because it was so late. I literally could not have cared less. So, wake up at 3 a.m. Get to the airport. Imagine how pissed you're gonna be. You woke up that early for your flight to be delayed 3 hours. And it might not have even been 3 hours. It could have been 2, it could have been 2.5. I don't remember exactly. But the point is, I wanted more sleep and I was not happy. And I can't really fall asleep in public like that. I'm not like a nap person, really. Unless I'm sick, I'm probably not napping. So we just have to sit there. And the airport, when nothing's open and it's like 5 a.m. and you're exhausted, not really the place you want to be. At least it's not the place I wanted to be. But eventually, we get on the flight, and that one wasn't too bad. Like, we got to Baltimore, and then we had 5 hours. I repeat, 5 hours. A 5-hour layover. And I just want to make it clear, we did not schedule this for ourselves. We were flying to an event and we opted to have them book our travel for us, which was our mistake, our bad. Will not be doing that again because, of course, I don't know if we were paying or they were paying. It might have been them. So I don't really blame them for doing us like that because you're probably gonna pick like whatever's the cheapest. I don't really know how the prices work with like direct flights versus connecting, but my guess is the more convenient one. So the direct one is gonna be more expensive. So I don't really blame them necessarily for scheduling us like this. And obviously, the delays were not their fault. I don't remember if our flight was like originally supposed to have a 5-hour layover, but if our original flight was already delayed a couple hours, I feel like still having that much time at the next location, like the middle stop, is crazy. So we get to Baltimore, and obviously we're thinking, I'm not sitting in this airport for 5 hours. So I like to say I have been to Maryland before. This is the one and only time I've ever been to Maryland. We stepped outside of the airport. We visited the Baltimore Aquarium. We had a fun little day trip in Baltimore because we were not about to sit in the airport for 5 hours. My mom was like, let's head out. Let's do a little exploring. We'll come back through security. It'll be great. So we had all our luggage. Did we have our luggage? We might have left it with someone at the airport. I don't remember. I feel like we did have our luggage. And at the aquariums, I feel like, I don't know, the aquariums I've been to at least, or like museums, they always have like lockers or bag holding areas where you can just give them your stuff because they don't want you walking around with anything. Anyway, that's how I remember it. Whatever the case was, we go out of the airport, we go to the Baltimore Aquarium. I have some really cool pictures of glowing jellyfish. We saw dolphins, which I don't love dolphins anymore, but at the time I thought it was pretty cool. So we went to the aquarium, then we went to lunch. I don't remember where it was, but the food was good. I don't remember what I had, but I remember it happened. We ate out and then we went back through security, back into the airport. This is where it gets fun. I don't know when our flight was. The flight must have gotten delayed. It must have. Because let's say we were originally supposed to board at 3. Maybe it got delayed to like 5 or something. I don't even know. What I do know is when we got on the plane in Baltimore, finally, we sat on the tarmac for an hour. Just sat there. And of course, you're not allowed to get up and like go to the bathroom for that hour. You don't really know when we're going to take off. It could happen at any minute. So everyone's kind of staying in their seats, blah, blah, blah. We're sitting on the tarmac for a full hour. That is not a good sign. That's not a good sign when you're traveling. If you're ever sitting on the tarmac for an hour, not looking good for you. So we're sitting there. And then the pilot says, everyone get off. We're bringing you back to the gate. Did we even move? I don't know. Maybe. I don't remember. Something was wrong with something, the plane, whatever. We had to go back to the gate, get off the plane. It was maybe only 6 or 7 p.m., but I feel like it was later. I feel like it was like 9 or 10. And then we weren't waiting for that long. So after we got off the plane, my mom was pretty much convinced that we were gonna have to get a hotel and like we wouldn't make it to the event on time because they scheduled us for like a same day situation. I mean, it was like a week-long thing, I'm pretty sure. So we missed some stuff, but like you couldn't go to everything because they were holding like party this, lecture this, event this, blah, 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 blah. Come do this. Come get your picture taken here. Come see this talent show, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, it was not like me personally and my mom missed anything super important, but we were with some other people who were going to the same event, had been scheduled on the same 2 flights as we were. So we were kind of all in this together. We formed like a little group, and 2 or 3 of them were signed up to do a talent competition at the event that night, and they were not going to make it. Like, there was no way. We were still in Baltimore at the time that they were supposed to be competing in this event in another state. So that was not going to happen. Thankfully, they did get to make it up another time, and one of them got to the finals, and her performance was amazing. She was a dancer, and she did such a good job. It was so impressive. But anyways, my mom is absolutely convinced that we are not getting back on this plane and we're going to have to find somewhere to stay in Baltimore, Maryland for the night. And I'm like, okay, Mom, whatever. I'm hungry. I want some dinner. Like, what the heck? So we're like trying to find a vending machine or something. I don't know why I remember this. For some reason, I feel like I just remember the airport being so eerily empty. I don't know if we were in just like a terminal that no one really used anymore or something, but it was really weird. Thankfully, we did get to go back on the plane. That was literally a miracle because I feel like that never happens. They had to get everyone off the plane. Maybe they brought in a different plane. I don't know what happened, but somehow we got on. And then we had to wait for another like hour, I would say, at least, before they finally took off and we flew. this this is a funny little tidbit. I just remember putting my AirPods in to try and fall asleep, and I swear I like fell asleep watching the Hunger Games on my phone, and I woke up to a Drake song playing in my AirPods. And I still have no idea how that happened. I don't know if I was pressing buttons in my sleep, if I was like half asleep changing it to a playlist, and I just didn't remember when I became fully conscious again, but that's always so funny for me to remember. Okay, so once we landed, then we had to actually get to the hotel, which I don't think was that big of a deal. But I do remember that Ubers kept canceling on us. And my poor mom, like, she was so done at that point. I have pictures of my mom, like, just dead asleep on the tray table on the airplane, and pictures of me like in my seat with my eyes like rolling out of my head. Like, you've got to be kidding me right now. Just either get me back to my house or get me to the hotel I'm supposed to be at. Like, I need to be in a real bed right now. I can't take this anymore. And we ended up getting to our hotel around 2 a.m. So I'm not sure where my math went wrong, but 2 details I know for sure. Woke up at 3 a.m. at my house to make an early flight at Logan Airport. Arrived at the hotel in Florida in Disney Springs at 2 a.m. Everything in between is a little bit fuzzier, but I tried to give you as many accurate details as I could. All I know is 3 a.m. to 2 a.m. is 23 hours. So there you go. That's my 23-hour travel day story. I hope that none of you ever have to experience anything like that. If you have, I'm so sorry. If you've experienced anything worse, I'm also so sorry. Okay, my next story is more recent. It's from last year in the fall. One of the reasons I've been on planes so much, especially lately, is college visits. Like I said, I visited CU Boulder recently, but last fall in October, my dad and I flew down to Nashville, Tennessee to see Vanderbilt University. So it was after school. My dad picked me up from a play rehearsal, and, we get to the airport, do the security stuff. We're all good. We're sitting at the gate. We've made perfect time. It's like that sweet spot where you only have to wait like less than 30 minutes before boarding, and we're like first people on the plane. Great situation, couldn't ask for a better one. But I was wearing sweatpants, not these ones, but similar, where like the pockets are very much open, and I had my phone in my pocket, and I was sitting with my legs down like this, and I guess my phone must have slipped out of my pocket and just right there on the seat that I was sitting on at the gate while we were waiting. And they call for us to board. I stand up, we board the plane, and of course, when you get on the plane, you're in your seat. You still have to wait for everyone else to get on and for them all to get situated. So, my bag's in the overhead, backpack's under the seat, and I start looking for my phone to take it out, to plug it into the charger, to connect it to the Wi-Fi, whatever I was gonna do, turn on some music, whatever. I'm looking for my phone. Where is it? I can't find it. Oh no! Where'd it go? Yeah, so funny story, guys. I can't find my phone. I'm on the plane. I look at my dad. I'm like, Dad, I can't find my phone. And he was like, oh, yeah. When I saw your pockets, I was worried your phone might fall out if you put it in there. You didn't think to tell me that. I mean, it was kind of common sense, but my bad. Never making that mistake again. So I'm like, well, it's a little late for that now. Thanks, but my phone is not here. It must still be at the gate. And so I'm panicking. I'm like, I need to get my phone. But you guys know they don't just like let you off the plane once you board. Apparently, as I learned, that's a big security risk. So I stand up and we're asking the flight attendant. My dad's like, excuse me, sir, my daughter left her phone at the gate. Like, can she go get it? And I think he said, yeah, but I just had to bring my boarding pass with me, I think. So my dad gives me my boarding pass. Or, no, I think he had the boarding pass on his phone. So he gave me his phone. So I have his phone and I have to get past all the people trying to board the plane, which, God, I'm so sorry, you guys. If anyone was on that flight, like, I'm actually so sorry. But I could not leave my phone at the gate. Are you kidding me? So I start sprinting down whatever it's called, like the thing that connects the gate to the airplane, like that tunnel thingy. I start sprinting the opposite direction, and of course everyone's looking at me like, what the heck is this crazy girl doing? And I get out to the opening and I spot this pink, and my phone case is pink, this bright pink on the seat that I was sitting in, and I was like, yes. So I just wanted to like go get it real quick, and the woman at the gate was busy, scanning people's boarding passes. They're going through. And there was the line, right? And then there's what do you call like the line dividers? They're like the same material as a seatbelt in a car. Have you guys ever noticed that? They're the same material, but it's just like, the dividers. There's one of those things, and I go to like duck under it to run and get my phone. Oh! Big mistake. Big mistake number 2, I guess. Because this woman goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. What do you think you're doing? Me, scared little 16-year-old me, I was like, I left my phone and it's right there. And this lady is like, ma'am, you cannot. And I get it. I get it. I'm sorry. My phone's right there. I see it. I just need to go get it, please. And so, of course, now I'm holding up the whole line because she's like, all right, now I have to go through the system and deplane you. And she's like looking up my name. She's like, what's your last name? How old are you? Blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, I'm holding my dad's phone. So she looks very skeptical. I'm like, my phone, it's right there. I see it. And she's like, so whose phone is that? And I'm like, oh, it's my dad's because my boarding pass. See? Like, blah, blah, blah. And all these poor people in the line are just trying to board the plane. I know they're looking at me like this stupid idiot. How do you forget your phone at the gate? Like, what kind of rookie mistake is that? And I'm so embarrassed because I've been flying since I came out of the womb. So I was like, this has never happened to me before. I've worn those sweatpants multiple times on a flight because they're so comfortable. So I really just could not even comprehend that this was happening right now. But she does like all the stuff in the system and she's like, all right, fine, go get it. And she's pissed, obviously. And I would probably be too. But she was so mean and I was so scared. And I duck right under. I'm like, excuse me, I'm so sorry. And I run and go get my phone. And I go to text my dad, like, hey, I found it. And then I'm like, well, I have his phone, so he actually has no idea if I found it or not. Can you guys imagine if they didn't let me get back on the plane and I had my phone and my dad's phone and he would have no clue? Sorry, that would have been horrible. Thank God that didn't happen. I just got in the back of the line, went through, but I did feel very bad for all the people who I inconvenienced in that situation. I was just really desperate. A girl needs her phone. Like, I'm so sorry. You can't tell me that if you lost your phone and left it at the gate and got on the plane without it, that you wouldn't try to go back and get it. Especially a longer flight. Like, it's not like I was flying from Boston to DC. I was flying from Boston to Nashville. That's still not terrible, but it's not like hour under. Anyways, yeah, so that was a fun one. Just glad that it worked out okay because now I will never, ever leave my phone at the gate again because I've learned my lesson and I learned it with some good cushioning. Thankfully, I didn't learn like the hard way where like they just wouldn't let me get on the plane or get off the plane. So, yeah, it happens. And if that hasn't happened to you yet, let my story be a lesson to you. Always check and make sure you have your phone before you get on the plane. Also before you get off, because I know my mom used to give her iPad to my brothers when we would have long plane rides, and one of them left her iPad on the plane, and she never got it back. Because it's such a quick turnover, and I guess, like, airports don't really have a lost and found. If you lose something at the airport, like, it's gone forever. So, I'm also so grateful. Like, it had to be a good 10 minutes from the long line, getting on the plane, and then having to, like, weave through all the people and, like, speed walk down. And it was one of those super long walkways where it wasn't just, like, whoop, and then you're out. It was like long where it had like all the turns and stuff. So I'm like speed walking trying to get back. So I'm really lucky no one stole my phone in that time because it could have been a real possibility. It wasn't that late at night. Like it wasn't the busiest the airport could be, like midday, but it also wasn't like absolutely dead. All right. Next one. This is actually just on my way back from Nashville. So my dad took me to go see Vanderbilt, but then he had to stay for work and I had to fly back to go to school. So it was my first time flying by myself. Flying alone, honestly, I always thought of unaccompanied minors as like, I guess they only do this for the little kids because once you reach teenage age, I swear no one even looked at me twice. I really thought there was going to be someone like, "Hi, sweetie, how can I help you?" Nope, nothing. Not even an acknowledgement. Like, I assume someone knew that there was going to be an unaccompanied minor, me, on their flight, but no, there was nothing. Like, no one talked to me, looked at me twice, anything. I kind of preferred it that way, though, because I knew what I was doing for the most part, and I kind of just didn't want to be bothered. I was definitely nervous. As I've said multiple times, I have anxiety. This was a time where that anxiety was very much being felt by me. I had to go through regular security, I'm pretty sure, which I was not really used to because I'm very spoiled. My family, my parents have like clear and pre-check and whatever. But I'm pretty sure I had to go through the regular line if I remember correctly, which I might not be remembering correctly. But either way, that's not very important. Went through security. Oh, random check. Great time for that. Don't you love? I think that was my first time flying alone. Also, my first time going in that scanning thing. It's like that cylinder, and they're like, put your arms up, turn to the side, and it like scans your whole body. I'm like, guys, I'm 16. I promise I'm not who you're worried about. I'm not who you're looking for. But a random check is a random check. So, of course, I go through the little detector thingies and a beep. And I'm like, I'm not wearing metal. There's nothing in my pockets. I rarely even wear outfits with pockets. Like, I don't own clothes with pockets unless they're sweatpants or sweatshirts. I'm not wearing that in Tennessee. Like, it's warm. So I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And they're like, all right, ma'am, like step in here, step on the footprints, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, great, this is so fun. Um, and then honestly, it really wasn't that bad. I just was very nervous and had my head on a swivel the entire time, which is good. I feel like you should always be aware of your surroundings, but it wasn't that bad. It was definitely like I was hyping it up a lot. Yeah, I feel like I psyched myself out too much and it was really just a normal flight. Nothing bad happened. It wasn't delayed, nothing crazy. And then the hardest part, honestly, was when I got back to my home airport and had to figure out how to get out. But it's just like common sense. It's sign reading. You have to read signs in the airport. I feel like reading signs really saves you, especially when you're in an airport that you don't know very well. Just read the signs. Use your eyes, use your thinking cap, your brain, and you can find out where everything is. You can be you'll quickly. The worst flight I've ever been on, surprise, it was actually not the 23-hour travel day. Both of those flights themselves were fine. The worst flight I've ever been on was also with just my dad. It was in, oh, it must have been like 2021, I think. So we were wearing masks. It was fully allowed. Only flight we took in that time frame, I think. I don't know. I don't remember. But it might have been 2022. Yeah, actually, I think it was 2022. Either way, it was from Florida, like Jacksonville area, back to Boston. And we were supposed to leave the next day, the following day. It was like a Monday. But I was in eighth grade and the curriculum, the homework was ramping up a little bit, and I was really, really, really worried about missing more school. I wanted to get back home. Like, I don't know, it was like kind of a weird vibe. I was stuck in my room. I was definitely like depressed, like the mental health. I don't know. I just wanted to go home. And the whole family was there. Like, we were with my mom's extended family. There were so many people in this house, and like, the beach was like right there. But I was just like in my room the entire time, just telling my parents over and over again, like, I want to go home as soon as possible. I want to go home as soon as possible. So we, my dad and I, scheduled a flight a night early because the flight the following day, it was projected to be like a big storm. I don't know. And not big by Florida standards, because that's obviously like devastating hurricane. It was nothing like that. But it was a storm that would impact flights, presumably. So I did not want to be stuck there for an extra day or an extra 2 days. So I was like, let's beat the storm. Let's go out early. So my dad and I left early. Of course, the next day was beautiful, fine. My mom's flight with my brothers went off without a hitch. Our flight, on the other hand, I don't think it was delayed, but in the air, we were in the air for way longer, like an hour plus longer than we were supposed to be because the storm came early, I guess. Um, and we had to like go around it more. I don't know. We had to take a detour in the sky, I guess, is the way the pilot put it. So we had to take a detour around the storm, but we were like right on the edge of the storm still, because obviously they're trying to get us to our final destination as fast as possible. And my dad and I hate flying the most of anyone in our family. We're afraid of heights. One of my brothers is also afraid of heights, but my dad and I are like afraid of heights plus flying. Like, it's not cool. And I'm trying to fall asleep. The turbulence, guys, worst turbulence I've ever felt in my life, because we're on the edge of a storm that was not supposed to come until the next day. And we landed way later than we were supposed to. Went to bed in my house like 2, 3 a.m. Meanwhile, I have school the next day. And I know high schoolers nowadays are staying up till 2, 3 a.m. like that's totally normal. It's not, guys. You need more sleep than that. So that was not a good day the next day because I was exhausted. But it was just like the worst flight experience I'd ever had, because we'd be like, okay, we can survive this for 1 more hour. And then the pilot would be like, hey friends, I'm sorry to inform you, we're gonna have to take another 2-hour detour to get around this storm. I'm trying my best. Sorry for the extreme turbulence. And we're like, oh my god, just get me out. I want to be on solid ground. Like, oh my god. Ah. So that was not ideal for sure, but it could have been so much worse. I just remember it being like the most miserable flight ever. And second to that is any red eye, literally ever. Which actually brings me to my next little story. This is just funny. I went on a school trip to Iceland my freshman year in the summer. So I went to Iceland. On the way back, I'm sitting between two classmates. I'm a freshman. I'm sitting between two seniors, a boy on the aisle side, a girl on the window side, and I'm in the middle. And I'm exhausted. It's only like a 4 or 5 hour flight from back from Iceland to Boston. But either way, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'm going to sleep, because I can sleep on planes. It's not the best sleep of my life, but this was the best sleep of my life. When I tell you guys, I sleep with like the tray table down, and then I just like put my arms down and my head down, and we're cool like that. That's how I'm sleeping. The thing is, I didn't really think about the fact that I was in the middle and like I'm basically trapping someone in on the window. So I'm dead asleep for this entire flight. I didn't know I was dead asleep until I'm woken up when we're landing. And this sweet senior girl turns to me. She says, "Hey, Clara, you were sleeping so deeply that when I had to go to the bathroom, we couldn't wake you up." She said she and the boy next to me were like shaking me, trying to wake me up. And I was so dead asleep that he had to get out, and then she had to climb over me to go to the bathroom because I was that asleep that they could not wake me up so I could get out of her way so she could go to the bathroom. That I just, whenever I picture in my mind like me just like slumped over asleep and her trying to climb over me to get out, I mean I feel bad, but it's such a funny image because obviously I was just a little freshman. Like, I was just knocked out from a week away from my family, like hiking, long bus rides, walking miles and miles every day. It was such a fun trip, but very, very physically exhausting because it's Iceland. We're exploring nature. It was an earth science trip. So we're like climbing a glacier and, hiking mountains, seeing waterfalls, blah, blah, blah. So it was an exhausting trip, and we're doing long bus rides. We did circled like the perimeter of the entire island, I swear. So it was a long trip. I was exhausted, clearly. But I just think that's so funny because I've never slept that good on an airplane since. I never did before then, and I'm not sure I ever will again. But I'm grateful because I was probably the least exhausted of everybody when we landed because I had such a good sleep on the way back on the plane. Okay. Oh, I was just gonna say, if you're sick and you have to fly, like, I get it. Sometimes you can't move your flight, it's expensive to move your flight, whatever. Please wear a mask. It's the least you can do. Wear a mask on the plane if you're even a teeny tiny little bit sick. Because the amount of times I will go on an airplane and be sick, like a day after I'll start feeling sick, that is not a coincidence. Some silly goose was on that flight spreading germs. And like sometimes it happens. Sometimes you don't know you're sick. Sometimes you're asymptomatic, whatever. I'd say in general, it's like safest to just always wear a mask on a plane and in the airport. I haven't been doing it lately, but I definitely, like, the whole family did. Around COVID, I mean. And obviously, if I'm ever sick, like, I know when I flew back from France last February, my French exchange trip, I was sick, like a cold, but still sick. So I wore a mask and was like trying to just breathe as little as possible out in the air that everyone else was breathing. I did want to also quickly say that I feel like one of the most fun parts, I mentioned I don't like flying, and that's true. But I do kind of like being in different airports, and I feel like it's fun. Like, the airport is part of the vacation experience, not necessarily your home airport. If you go to your home airport a lot, it's like nothing new. But when you go to new airports, it's so fun. I've been in airports all over the country, and it's so fun to see how different they are. I know, like, in Texas, the airports, you see, like, cowboy hats and cowboy boots, and, like, obviously, if you're in Texas, like, that's normal. But if you're from, like, the Boston area, like me, that's, like, so funny to see. And there's, like, stores, like, selling, you know, the sports team merch and cowboy hats, and there's, like, steakhouses all over the place. And then it's, like, I remember the airports in Montana and Wyoming that I've been to, they had like moose and deer and like all the, you know, animal heads like on the walls, and it's carpeted and it's all wood, and it was just a very different vibe than any other airport I've ever been in, where a lot of them feel like a lot more modern, but the ones out there were like, I feel it was just like completely wood. Like I said, the animal heads, it literally looked like you were just in a hunting barn, but it was an airport. And I say that never having been in a hunting barn, so I don't know where I got that idea from. I just mean like the vibes. It was just like, wow, like we're in a very different place. I just think that's so cool. It's so fun to see the airports as a reflection of the place that you're in and take it as like part of the experience of being in that new place. And then last but not least, the point that I feel like is most important here for this episode is that I genuinely don't think humans are meant to fly, because I just don't think it's good for our bodies. I don't understand people who like flying. Like, the people who don't like flying make so much more sense, because in your brain, just like evolution wise, I feel like if we were meant to fly, if our bodies were meant to be able to handle that altitude, we would have wings. You feel me? Like, I know the travel, the inventions with our brains, you know, whatever. But I feel like the people who don't like flying are correct, because we're not made for it. We're not. Do I look like a bird? Don't answer that. But like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, when I'm up in the air, first of all, my mouth like so dry, and some of this might be like the airplane air, but either way, whatever. Like, my stomach gets all weird, all the things, like your water bottle, the pressure is weird. I open it, it like sprays everywhere, gets all over me, and half the time I forget I have to open it like on the floor and like hold the top down until the water just fountains down, literally like a mini volcanic eruption, I swear. It's so bad. And that has nothing to do with me, but like within my body, I have issues. I don't know. But I have like, I can feel like the gas bubbles in there and the pressure it puts, it hurts so bad. Like it really, really, really hurts. Yeah. The ear thing, a lot of people like their ears don't pop right and like it's really painful. Dry mouth, like I said, but just when people judge other people for not liking flying, I'm like, no, you're weird if you like flying. You're the weird one. Like, good for you because most of us, if we have the money for it, like, you are gonna fly at some point in your life. And it's worth it to me. Most of the time, the places that I'm going, I have to fly to get there. It's worth it to me. But that doesn't make the effects of it on my body any less miserable. Like when I'm up in the air and then I land, like I feel weak. I feel lightheaded. Like I need at least a day of recovery from being up at that altitude because it's not normal. It's not what our bodies were made for. So if you're looking at someone weird when they say they don't like flying, check yourself because last time I checked, we don't have wings. Our bodies are not meant to be up that high in the sky for long periods of time like that. And if you like flying, that's fine. I'm not going to judge you for that, but I'm just saying don't judge the people who don't like flying because maybe we're onto something. Okay? Maybe we're onto something. Maybe, just maybe, we were not meant to be in the sky like that. Okay? That's why we have feet. See these? Yeah, they walk on the ground. Yeah, the ground. The ground. Not the sky, the ground. Okay? Yeah, so that's all I have for this episode. I hope you all have a great week. Hang in there. It's going to be October when this comes out, so have a great first week of October. Love you guys. See you next time.